Good day, USA. Whew, that was a long one. Welcome to Flag Stewards Be a Stud Citizen message for Thursday, March 11th of 2021. Yeah, not the typical reminders from our flag. We're talking about being a stud citizen because we've got an example of a few stud citizens, and we go into detail about one specific awesome, inspirational All-American that we'll highlight here in a second. But before we do that, we always want to know where our flag is at half-staff today, so we have it correct at our school or home. Well, we've got 4 half-staffs that continue, then we have 2 concurrent in Michigan and Pennsylvania that are slapped on top of ones that are already going. And you can click on the honorees link to find out about those. And I'm kind of fired up, as you can tell from the start of this. Me tripping over my words there on the half-staff because this is a historical stud citizen message that I only came upon a few years ago, and it's a story in a movie that kind of blew me away, and is still probably in my top 10. And the story itself, I just get enamored with because I love space flight. Always have, because apparently, I didn't know this till recently, my parents took me to an Apollo launch when I was a little kid, and we were out on a boat off the coast there of Cape Canaveral. And I don't know, I'm just inspired when people are pioneers and they break barriers, and that's certainly the case here. We're about to tell about one little recognized American space flight computer. Yeah, actually a heroine, or a she-roe as some people call them. That's right, we're celebrating Women's History Month the next 3 weeks with some triumphant stories of pioneering women who broke barriers and brought America one step closer to fulfilling its promise that all men and women are created equal. This week's amazingly smart, determined, patriotic woman was unknown to me and most Americans until the movie Hidden Figures was released in 2017. Highlighted 3 brilliant African-American women who served as quote-unquote computers. Yeah, that's before we had like mechanical computers, digital computers. The humans were called computers for NASA in the 1950s and 60s. Why? Because they were hired, they being Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan, and a whole slew of women and a particular team of African Americans. They were featured in Hidden Figures to use their talented math brains to compute, hence the word computer, important equations that would enable America to win the race to space against the Russians during the Cold War. And it was a serious race, and it was serious competition. These women performed unbelievably in the face of discriminatory work conditions, meaning for you kids out there, unfair practices against their gender and race. NASA, like most big corporate American companies back then, was a white, male-dominated organization, but these women turned the NASA doubters into believers and helped America do what seemed impossible, launch an American into space, then into orbit, and ultimately to the moon in the 1960s. And Katherine Johnson, who's pictured here, is a particular standout amongst them all. So much so that NASA named one of its campus buildings after her in 2018. She's sitting there in front of it. They dedicated a spacecraft and mission in her name, the SS Katherine Johnson, a robotic spacecraft that just went to the International Space Station last month. A Presidential Medal of Freedom was bestowed on her in 2015, Congressional Gold Medal in 2019. I mean, the list of accolades go on and on. But her most famous act that was reenacted in that movie, Hidden Figures, was when, it was awesome, when John Glenn asked for her to verify, specifically Katherine Johnson, the math calculations for his space flight path to ensure that they were correct. And she was spot on. And you got to check out the movie trailer here. And I highly recommend you step beyond that, get fired up by the trailer, and go watch this riveting movie about the NASA she-roes, as some people like to call that now, heroes and she-roes. All right, now it's time to recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Students across America at home or school, inspired by this week's Be a Stud Citizen message about these space pioneering women, please unite and recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. That's it. That's today's U.S. Flag Tribute. This is Sean Sweeney signing off with Goooood. Be a stud citizen. That means be an awesome, good to each other citizen. Don't be afraid to step out of bounds like these women do. Do something that isn't expected. Keep America beautiful, and remember, in God we trust.